Hi everybody. Today I have 3 different mixed media projects using the same napkin. And here's that napkin. It's a Romy napkin that I got from NinnysNapkins. There's a link in the description box below with a coupon code, so go check her out. So this is an art journal page that I did a while back. So don't hit stop because this is not a repeat of this page. I art journal to get creative ideas and then I can go back, get inspiration, great color schemes, or even an entire project that I can take and use to make some craft fair makes or gifts. So the first thing that I did was I made a notebook. This is roughly 5 by 7, a little bigger. This is an 8 by 8 wood panel wall hanging that I used the same napkin and some of the same process, but a different background. And I also made a card. Again, different colored background. The notebook, I'm just going to walk you through that quickly because it's a very much the same as the art journal page. And then you'll get full tutorials for both the 8 by 8 wooden panel and the card. So stay tuned. So here is the notebook. I take the covers off the spiral in order to do the work. And if you watch any of the videos where I've made the notebooks, you're going to see that process. Now, I'm not going to show you the full tutorial because basically I've done the exact same thing as this art journal page on this notebook. What I am going to do is walk you through a couple of the steps to complete it, turning it into a notebook. Yes, I started with the brown paper bag that I applied that, I decoupaged it down to get those wrinkles, applied color, stamped with my word stamp from Stamperia, and splattered with gold paint. On the inside covers, I did a wash, a block and blend with several colors of brown paint. I stamped using the word stamp, splattered, and edged it. I did this on the back inside and the front inside as well. You want the whole thing to look cohesive. At the end, before I assemble it, I do put a coat of polyacrylic Minwax varnish. Now let's get busy on this 8 by 8 wood panel. And I'll put a link to wood panels that you can purchase if you want to do this. I am putting a coat of gesso, and a fast way to apply gesso is to use your brayer. I can't believe how quick and easy this makes. Plus, it gives you some added texture. Got a little bit of smudge on there, I just wipe it off, no worries. Now, I want to keep the background light for this. I'm not going dark like I did on the notebook on the art journal page. And I'm applying a mixture of white gesso and unbleached titanium. And I'm getting that mottled kind of look. I don't want this to look flat because I want to add interest to my background. This substrate is a little bit bigger than the art journal page, so more of the background is going to show. So you want to make sure you build in interest. I'm doing the sides as well. Now I want to add some pattern, but I want to keep it subtle. So I'm using the unbleached titanium through this layered wallpaper stencil, and it's giving a very subtle but very interesting vintage pattern to my background. I'm loving the look. Once this dries, I'm coming back with the onion blossom stencil and white acrylic paint, and I'm stenciling this all across the background. Now afterwards, I thought this would be really nice with some white pearl modeling paste or shimmery goodness from the Crafter's Workshop. Some pearl paint that would give it another level of interest. This background is to die for. It's subtle, it's gorgeous, and I'm really happy with my stencil purchases. By the way, did you know that TCW stencils can be purchased at NinnysNapkins? She's way more than napkins. Go check her out. Now, before I said I'm doing the same thing to the side. So I'm adding the pattern to the sides. Whatever I do on the front, I'm doing on the sides because you're going to see that when it's hanging on the wall. Now this is the Romy napkin and I've water cut it out and I'm just applying it to a piece of copy paper with my fluid matte medium. I'm being very, very gentle with this napkin as it's very fragile. I don't want it to rip. So I'm putting one layer down, drying it, and then I'm going to put another coat of matte medium on it as well. I'm giving this a good dry and I flip it over to dry it from the top as well as the bottom. And there I'm applying that second coat just to make sure it's all perfectly adhered to the page and I've got a good base coat. Now I'm getting some brown acrylic paint on my liner brush and I'm outlining the petals of this mandala. Some of it was cut off, some of it wasn't there, so I'm just adding it. And I'm adding it now because when I go to cut this out, if I've made any mistakes, I can cut it off. Whereas if I glued this down first, that would be impossible to do. So again, take the time to dry it, and then I'm just quickly cutting it out. And I can just leave as much of the brown as I want. So some of it got a little thick, so I just cut it back. Loving the look on the background. Now I stamped out the words grateful, thankful, blessed, and I'm just positioning those there to get the idea of the composition. I decided I want to add some script to the background, so I'm mixing the unbleached titanium with the smallest amount of burnt umber and stamping. Remember, I want to keep it light, but I do want lots of interest in that background. I'm using this darkroom door stamp and acrylic paint, and then I do take the time to do the edges, and then I wash the stamp. So these petals are from a Tracy Scott stamp which I stamped with gel medium, and I'll put a link to that video. And then I did a wash of color, and it gives this faded resist look that I love. I'm gluing this down with TCW gel medium. The reason for that is the paper's a little thicker and there's texture, and I just find that gel medium works better in this application than the fluid medium. But if you only have the one, you can use whatever you have. and then gluing down the napkin that I had put down, glued onto copy paper. Putting it on copy paper means that the petals that are behind it aren't going to show through because you've added that layer of paper. I've bent the petals around the side of the wood panel. I like the way it wraps around. I think this would look nice, and instead of using the teal color, I could use some of the coral or pink that's in there. Now I'm going to stamp the words grateful, thankful, blessed with brown acrylic paint and my alphabet stamps. And I clean off the stamp after I use it. Get rid of that acrylic paint to protect your stamps. And I'm loving the look. And I'm using brown here because there's brown in the background. Black I thought would be too stark, too much of a contrast. I'm not trying to make this perfect. And the more you stamp with your wooden blocks, your alphabet stamps, the better you get at it. Now I'm edging with the makeup sponge. I'm just adding that brown around the edge. That adds to the vintage feel and edges your project. Now I could have done this with this color scheme on the notebook. I have plans to do a canvas with 3 of these, and now I'm splattering with gold. I decide that I want to shade around the focal image, these petals, and I'm using brown, not black, for the same reason that I use brown in the letters. It's a better match to what I've got going on here. And I put 1 layer down, and I can always come back and add more. And then I'm splattering with a bit of the brown. So there are the 2 projects that I did, inspired by the creation of this art journal page, the notebook and the wooden panel. So let's make a card. Now this one I had glued down onto copy paper, but it had ripped. And so I can't use it in its entirety. Now on one of the petals, it had kind of a honeycomb thing. So I grabbed the honeycomb stencil. This is actually chicken wire reversed in the 6-inch. And I'm going to put gel medium gloss through this stencil. And it's going to provide a resist, just like I made the teal petals for the other projects. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So once that is dry, I am going to colorize it. And to get the teal color, I'm using Naples Yellow, Liquitex Basics, and Prussian Blue. And when you mix them, you get this lovely, deep, rich teal color that matches my decor and I just absolutely love. So you can put it on and you can see how the gel medium that was there, the gloss gel medium, has provided a resist and it shows up. So we've got texture, and if you want more of it to show up, just take a baby wipe and you can wipe off the paint. So I'm loving that. Now, a couple of places the gel medium seeped under, and it's acting as a resist. So I'm just putting a coat of paint on top of it, just so I don't get the big white splotches there. Adding more color, a little more Prussian blue, some more Naples yellow, and I'm mixing it on the page. I've taped off the top of it so I get that straight edge. And I'm trying to be careful because I don't want to get it all dirty. Now I'm using gold paint and this mini dots stencil, also from the Crafter's Workshop, just to add some bling. So instead of splattering with this one, I'm applying it through a stencil. Now I'm edging this with black acrylic paint on a makeup sponge to frame it. I put a lot of work into these cards, and the people that I gift them to can frame them because they are mini works of art in of themselves. So I grabbed a sentiment from my Embrace Possibility pack, and all my sentiment packs can be purchased as digital downloads from NinnysNapkins. And I'm going to glue these two items down with the TCW gel medium. And I'm positioning this so that where the napkin ripped, I will be cutting off. So now I did with one napkin, I got the original art journal page, the notebook, the card, and the wood panel. So I'm going to cut off the excess here. You can buy these napkins and make a set of 8 different cards, all very similar, different color backgrounds, different sentiments. I'm using the black acrylic paint, and I'm just going to do some shading around the focal image and the sentiment. And I'm just building it up as I go, adding more. So I hope this gives you an idea of what you can do with when you have multiple images on your napkins. Everyone looks different, different backgrounds, different stencil combos. Now I'm just adding a little bit of gold on here, on top of the brown. Just add a little more bling, and to show you some options. So even if you did a set of 8 cards, everyone can be different. Add a little bit different detail. This card base, this 6x6 card base, is a TCW product, folded cards and envelopes. I believe you get them in packages of 10. And I love the size and shape of them. And now I'm splattering with gold as well. Now on the envelope, remember that piece we cut off that was still good? I decided I'm just going to decoupage that down on the envelope, and I'm going to have a matching envelope. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed my 3 projects. Give me a thumbs up. Until next time, go get creative.